Hello everyone, welcome to this video on SQL CTE. Below are the topics which we are going to cover today. What is a CTE and when we can use it with examples. So let's get started. A CTE stands for Common Table Expression. It is a temporary result set, so it does not exist after the query execution is completed. The result set is referenced in the main SQL query as highlighted below. So below is the syntax. We have to use the with keyword followed by any name which we can give to our CTE. These are optionals. Then the as keyword is mandatory. Within the brackets, we'll have to write our code which can be selected from any table with any conditions. So once this entire CTE is done, we can write a main query to select from our CTE like how we do it for a normal table. So we can do select star from the CTE which is created above. Moving on to when can we use the CTE, there can be multiple scenarios. First would be to avoid nested subqueries in place of views, in place of temporary tables, to create and query summarized tables, to query the result sets of windows function, etc. Now let's get started with our first scenario to avoid nested subqueries. In this, the question is we need to find the sales order detail ID where sales order detail ID along with the order quantity where the order quantity is greater than the average order quantity of the entire table, and this average quantity is greater than the average quantity of each product ID. So first of all, we'll have to calculate this part, which is the total average, then the average per product, and finally the sales order detail will fetch the order quantity which is greater than both of it. Let's see the version which is in subqueries. This is how our output would look like. Let's try to understand this. So, since our first ask was to create the average order quantity for the entire table, this is how we will do it by selecting the average order quantity as average quantity from the sales schema, and the table uses sales order detail. This is our inner query. We'll have to write other query on top of this, which would be for the average quantity for product. So this is how we will write it. We'll select the product ID and the average of order quantity as average quantity pro from the sales order detail table. We'll group it by product ID. Now we need to check, we have to apply the condition having the where the average having will use where the average order quantity is greater than our average order quantity for the entire table. Okay, so this is our first inner query, this is our second query, and both of them I have given a name called as temp. A final query will select the sales order detail ID along with the sales order product ID, which is this, and the order quantity from our sales order detail table. Will join with the two tables which is being created. So finally, this is a temp table which is being joined on the product IDs, where the order quantity which we are fetching from the sales order detail table is greater than the average quantity for each product. So since these two are nested already, the product average which we are taking is greater than the total average which we have mentioned in this. Okay, so this is how recursively nested queries we can use. Now let's check out the other version. So if you notice this was a little complex to read, and even for debugging it will be a bit complex. This is our CTE version. Let's try to decode this. We'll be getting the same output. I will just put the other two for reference so that we can view whether it is greater. So if you see for sales order detail ID 10, we are fetching the order quantity 6, which is greater than the average quantity and is greater than the average quantity for the product ID 709. If you see here also for 709, the order quantity, average order product quantity was 5 and we are referencing 6. Here we will be using two CTEs. For the first, this is the first CTE. So with the name, you can understand this is calculating the average quantity CTE. So we'll use the with keyword, the name of the CTE as, and within braces, we will mention our code, which is selecting the average quantity from the sales or the detail table. So this is our first, and we'll end it with a comma. Then second CTE, we don't have to use the with keyword, okay? We'll just use the CTE name, which is for the product as, and this is our code, which is to select the product ID, the average order quantity from the sales or a detailed table and group it by the product ID. So these two, if you see, are more readable than the previous code. Finally, once these two are done, we'll write a final query to select from the above CTEs. The main query would be to select the sales order detail ID which we need in our output, followed by the product ID and the order quantity from the sales order detail table. So we'll join the product quantity table, okay, on the product IDs because this has these two things common. To join the other CTE, which is the overall average quantity, we'll use 1 is equal to 1, which is a Cartesian join because it doesn't have any common columns. Once these two are done, we'll use a where clause. The order quantity which we are getting from the sales order detail table for each sales order detail ID should be greater than the average quantity for each product, and the average quantity for each product should be greater than the total average quantity. I hope this was clear. Moving on to the next scenario, we can use CTs in place of views. So there might be situations where we don't have right access to create any views, or the views are not referenced a lot. So the purpose of creating views is if a table or a certain query is being referenced multiple times, we can create a view. But if you are using it for one time or only for your purpose, not for the global purpose, then you can create a CT and use it. These are the two scenarios where you can use CT in place of views when you don't have an access or if you don't want to create unnecessary views in the database. In our AdventureWorks 2019 database, which we are using for this demo, we have already a vEmployee view. So you can check that out under views. I have copied the code from there. So if you see this select statement, right, this is the code for the view. To make it a CT, I have put it inside a CT with a with clause, and these are our brackets. And once the CT is done, I'm just selecting from the CT. Okay, so let me execute and show you. So this query gives us 290 records, and if you try to run the view also, it will also give you the same. So this is similar to the view which is being created, and this is the way you can use CTs. Scenario 3, we can use it in place of temp tables. Here, I tried to create a temp table where the temp table name is temp table and selecting for the production product category table. So select star into the temp table from the production product category. And then I'm doing a select star from the temp table. Here, if you go to your database under the temp TB and the temporary tables, you can see that the temp table gets created. So temp tables are physically created in the temp DBs, while the CTs are not. So CTs are created in memories and they don't occupy any space in the DB. So if you don't want to occupy space, and another scenario as we had in views, you don't have the right access to create anything in a database, then you can go with CT. To convert this into CT, I'm using the with command, temp CT and CT name as keyword. Inside bracket, I'm doing select star from the production schema product category table. And once this CTE is done, you can write a main query to select star from the CTE. Moving on to the fourth question, this is an example where we can create and query summarized tables using CTE. Here I have created a summarized revenue table by selecting a product ID, the sum of order quantity into the unit price as total revenue, sum of order quantity as quantity, and sum of unit price as price from the sales order detail table of Adventure Works 2019 database, where the product ID is 925 and grouping it by the product ID because we have aggregate functions used in the select clause. So if I try to run this independently, if you want to run this independently, you can run the select clause. We get a total revenue, the quantity, and the price. Now, in our main query, we need to select the product ID, but after that, we need the average revenue. For that, we're using total revenue, which we have created in our first CTE, divided by the quantity, which is our sum of order quantity, as the average revenue from the summarized revenue, which is our CTE. So for the product ID, we get the average revenue, which is 149. There might be multiple instances where you can use this. If not aggregated tables, you might have other statements like case statements and all. I have made a video where I have given many examples of CTE. I'll give the link in the description box. You can check that out also for more examples. Moving to our last scenario for today's video, it can be used to query the results list of Windows function. So this example I have given in the previous video which I have shown for SQL data analysis project. In this, we are trying to select the top 5 products based on the rank which is the total sales, maximum total sales. Here we have created the sales rank CT by selecting the name, the sum of line total as the total sales, then the rank keyword with an overword, order it by the sum of line total descending because we need to get the descending rank first. So this is based on the rank. I've given an alias to it from our sales order detail table. I'm joining it with the product table and the product IDs to get the name, group by name. So once this CTE is done, I'm selecting the sales rank, selecting from that CTE where the rank is less than equal to 5. This will give me all the products with the total sales in descending order and the rank 1 to 5. I hope this video was useful. If so, please subscribe to the channel for more such updates. Thank you for